biology lovers. In today's class, we will learn about the pollination, which is another pre-fertilization changes occurring in flowers of angiosperms and gymnosperms as well. So, without wasting any time, let's start with our topic. Pollination is a process of transfer of pollen grains from the anther of the androecium to the stigma of the gynoecium. So here you can see this is an anther. When it dehisces, it looks like that. For example, if this is a dehisced anther, it looks like that. And what happens? The pollen grains, they come out to the air. So it goes to the stigma of the pistil. So this stamen, it has pollen grains which will go to the pistil of the stigma. Now this is the process of pollination. During this process, it has two typical types of pollination is seen in flowering plants. Let's see that. Types of pollination. Self-pollination and cross-pollination. Self-pollination is a process in which the transfer of pollen grains occurs in the same plant, and in cross-pollination, the transfer of pollen grains occur in different plants. The self-pollination is also differentiated into two types. These are autogamy and geitonogamy. The cross-pollination, it doesn't have any differentiation, so it is also called xenogamy. Let's understand the different types of pollination with a diagram. This is the diagram of two plants of same species, but the pollination in cross-pollination system occurs between two plants but of the same species. But in case of autogamy and geitonogamy, the pollination will occur in the same plant. Now let's see what is the difference between autogamy and geitonogamy. Now, in case of autogamy, the pollen grains from the same flower goes to the stigma of that flower only. So, here the pollen grain, if these are the anther and this is the stigma, I am drawing this. This pollen grain will come to that stigma only for the same flower. If here autogamy is occurring, the stigma will have the pollen of the same flower. So here autogamy is the self-pollination process when pollen grains from the anther goes to the stigma of that flower. For example, autogamy Mirabilis jalapa and Opuntia. So now if this is autogamy, then what is geitonogamy? Here in the same plant, if it is the stigma, the pollen grain from this anther will come to that stigma. The same flower will not get any pollen grain from that flower. So the geitonogamy also occurs in the same plant as it is a self-pollination process, but the flower will receive the pollen grain from the distant flowers of that plant only. So coming to cross-pollination, before coming to cross-pollination, we need to understand the examples of geitonogamy. Maize is a good example. So now we need to understand the difference or advantages and disadvantages between self-pollination and cross-pollination. Starting with the advantages of both self-pollination and cross-pollination. As we have seen, in case of self-pollination, there is transfer of pollen grain from anther to the stigma of the same flower or in the same plant. So there is not much importance of agents. So we don't need agents. Self-pollination is independent of agents. Here we are not doing differentiation. So the this if this is the advantage of self pollination, this can't be the advantage of cross pollination. The advantage of self pollination will be the disadvantage of cross pollination. This is a simple trick. So next is it maintains the purity of characters. As here the parental plants in self-pollination, the characteristics of the parents are completely transferred to the offspring. So there is no mix up of characteristics there because there is no hybridization, there is no cross. In that situation, this character, if for example a plant is, in case of any plant, if that plant produces very good quality of fruit or very good quality of ripened fruit, so this character will be maintained from parents to the offspring in case of self pollination. But in case of cross pollination, as there is a cross in fertilization between two different plants of the same species, this character, a single character cannot be maintained properly. Next is the offspring are same as parents. There is no special device or structure needed to attract any other organism. Because they don't need any agent. Because they don't need any agents. So these are four main and common advantages of self-pollination. Now coming to the cross-pollination. In case of cross-pollination, it has different new characters, adaptability is very high. For example, if the cross occurs between two same species of plants, but their habitat is different. One plant it is situated near the river bank, and the other one it is situated in a more dry region of the same species, but it is in a comparatively dry region. So they both of them they will have some epigenetic regulations or some environmental effects to their genetic characters. So now these two plants, when they will have a cross between them, the offspring produced will be very much adaptable to both the environment or both the situation, in to some extent to drought condition and to some extent of watery condition or moist condition. So it will have a high adaptability. As there is a cross, the offspring will get some new characteristics compared to their parents. So now the offspring has some evolved characteristics. If any kind of stress occurs, that they are evolutionarily very significant. They will evolve easily. So evolution, high chance of evolution. Here, in case of cross-pollination, the agents are required. Agents can be biotic and abiotic. So, the plants always have a ecological relationship between biotic and abiotic agents related to the plant. So, produces good ecological relationship between biotic with here between what is wrong with biotic and abiotic agents involved in the pollination. They are more resistant to diseases. High resistance to diseases. The yield in case of crop plant, if cross pollination occurs, the yield is always high or moderate, but never low or very good. If it is very high or good, but it can be very low. Crops yield is very high or good. So you will never be deprived when there is a cross pollination in case of plants. Now let's understand both of them has some disadvantages. Pile up the disadvantages. Talking about disadvantages, the self-pollination also has some disadvantages as it has some advantages. In case of self-pollination, no emergence of new characters. So, if you don't have new characters, you are low adaptable to the evolution. Low rate of adaptability due to some continuous or consecutive self-pollination, a plant experiences low quality of the good characters. If you are doing self-pollination for several generations for a plant, if it is ripened fruit is very tasty, or if the pod is very good, if the flower is very good, for any specific characteristics, a plant is self pollinated for several generations, it experiences low quality of that specific character or low quality of that race. So here, during several self pollinations in a plant, it experiences low quality of a race. Self pollination is evolutionarily is very not good. It is not. Immunity in case of self pollinated plants is very much decreased. Immunity to diseases is decreased. Talking about the cross pollination, the first thing we see is it is dependent upon agents. If no insect, no bird, or if it is any agent required to the plant, if that agent doesn't come, the plant will not experience any kind of pollination or fertilization. So it will be very bad or characteristics or very bad situation for the plant. The purity of the race is lost. Again, the plants require to produce a high amount of pollen grains because it is dependent upon agents and it is very uncertain process, so it requires to make a large amount of pollen grains. Wastage of pollen grains also occur. So now we have studied or we have discussed the advantages and disadvantages of self-pollination and cross-pollination as well.